What was your worst job interview? The interviewer was just stone cold. I tried to work in some small chit-chat to break the ice, but the most I got was a smirk. Then came the technical questions. I botched every question, and each time he gave me a hard no, then proceeded to condescendingly explain why I was wrong. Luckily, I landed a job with a different company shortly after, but man, that interview really destroyed my confidence. I took vacation days to interview, bought my own plane ticket, and paid for my own hotel. First thing the interviewer said was, "I have no intention of hiring you. This is just a courtesy because I knew your brother." I had 8 more hours left in my interview day. It was painful. They ended up offering me the position many weeks down the road because they couldn't fill the position. I politely declined and got a very passive-aggressively worded survey to fill out explaining why I passed. Edit: I'm an eye surgeon. This was for a training position at an Ivy League institution. That interviewer burned a bridge before you even got to it. Good on you for declining the offer after being treated like that. If they do stuff like that, they probably aren't that great to work for. You should have graciously accepted their offer, gone through all the motions of accepting the job, except actually signing the contract, and then 2 weeks before the start date, when they're panicking about why you haven't signed the contract yet, politely explain that you had no intention of taking the position, but you have accepted because they knew your brother. I had a really big opportunity for a job with Siemens Corporation sometime after I graduated from college for a technical job that would have paid a lot of money. It was a multi-interview job, and I actually got interviewed by 3 different people. Each one I was a nervous wreck, but somehow nailed them and just stayed confident. Finally, they send me for the final interview at their headquarters, so I show up prepared, early, suit and tie, certs and paperwork, etc. I'm sitting in this fancy lobby waiting for the interviewer to come get me, and another dude walks in dressed for an interview just like me. I figured he was here for another job, so we had a friendly chat while we waited for our interviewers to show up. This was clearly an older, more experienced guy. Finally, interviewer shows up and is surprised to see us, saying they accidentally scheduled our interviews for the same time. So he takes the older gentleman and tells his employee to take me, and we would be interviewed separately. At this point, everything is falling apart. I'm not being interviewed by the man I showed up to talk to. Instead, this employee dressed in a t-shirt takes me downstairs to the cafeteria and asks me a handful of quick questions in a very unprofessional setting before letting me go. It's like they decided who to hire before the interview even began. It was a huge letdown. That's just rude. What an unprofessional way to handle a human being. Finished up a master's degree in physics. Got a phone interview and was told it would be an introductory chat. Was confronted with a technical interview panel, over the phone, of 6 PhDs, 4 of which had graduated from the research group I had just left. We walked through my research project in about 10 minutes. Then the pain began. Felt like I'd only learned kindergarten physics. As an interviewee, it was when I applied to a job as a junior programmer, and in 5 minutes the guy goes, "Look, I'll be honest, there is no job, you can get an internship, no pay, we offer the bus pass." As an interviewer, we posted a job opening for a senior programmer. This kid, right out of university, applied. I turned him down, but my boss made me interview him. I told him what the job was, what the expectations and technologies were, and the kid turns, stares at me and says, "Don't care about that. I want to be a project manager, and within 2 or 3 years top I expect to be offered a middle management position." I turned to my boss and told him to take it from there. As an interviewee, it was when I applied to a job as a junior programmer, and in 5 minutes the guy goes, "Look, I'll be honest, there is no job, you can get an internship, no pay, we offer the bus pass." I wasn't even there, and I'm angry for you. My mom raises chickens, and during COVID one of them got sick, not COVID. She had it inside to feed water hourly to try to nurse it back to life. My mom has to run an errand, so I'm in charge of this chicken for the afternoon. I was on a phone screening with a candidate for a position in my office, and this chicken starts having a seizure and dies in the middle of this phone call. I look over and it's laying almost like it was crucified. The candidate heard the commotion and asked if everything was okay, which I relied, "Yeah, the chicken just died." She withdrew her application the next morning. Edit: It was an office job at a NYC school. No farm experience required. Poor girl. During college I applied for a bunch of jobs at IKEA. I got an interview followed by a rejection email. A week later they called me for another interview. I got another rejection email. They interviewed 5 times for 5 different positions. I got rejected all 5 times. I'm still salty about it 2 decades later. If you had arranged all the rejection emails in just the right way, they would have been a job offer. Fresh out of college, I was looking for my first teaching job. I applied at a small district for an elementary school position. I walked in, expecting the principal and a few teachers. Instead, I had the superintendent of the district, some high-level admin, and every single elementary school principal in the district. Probably 15 people in all. They peppered me with questions for 45 minutes. I had 0 experience, just my student teaching. I did not get the job. Teaching interviews are rough. I had to interview with 2 principals and the entire social studies department, which was about another 7 to 8 people, and they don't adjust their interview structures at all. They're asking me all these different fringe scenarios, about dozens of different projects and other things that made it obvious they had no interest in hiring a newbie. Part of me was struggling to not just say, "You guys have my resume, you know I only have like 4 or 5 months teaching experience, right? Why am I here if you want a veteran teacher?" Like one question asked me to explain a time where I had to reteach a student had previously failed my class. I tried working with it, but I was intimidated as it was and probably just made things worse. After that thorough effing I received, a guy I knew who literally just reads from a PowerPoint all day got it because he coaches football, so you know. I'm in sales now, if that tells you anything about how I felt about the experience. Partway through the interview the boss lady had something come up and got her assistant to show me around while she was busy. As soon as we were out of earshot this guy tells me to get out while I can. Apparently the boss was a slave driver on a sinking ship, and either that was true and I should leave, or this guy is insane and I should leave. So in the second part of the interview I declined the offer. That set the boss off like a firework, which made me think the guy's warning was sincere. It was the first time I turned down a job and felt kind of empowering, so her venom didn't stick, and I had a strawberry milk waiting for me outside that topped it off. I applied for a job in a planetarium. The interview was conducted in a big dome. Problem was, another part of the planetarium staff was doing fire alarm tests during the interview. The dome amplified the sound so much, it was deafening. The interview staff acted like nothing was going on. We had to shout so we could hear each other. "I'm afraid we cannot offer you this position at this time. I accept your offer. When do I start?" Candidate is resistant to sonic attack. Move forward with electroshock evaluation. Applied to work at a vet clinic. Veterinarian did the interview while spaying a cat, apparently one of the cleanest and quickest surgeries they do. I fainted. Was not offered the job, after I woke up. I feel like this was planned on the vet's end. When you woke up, did you have a big cone around your neck? Interviewed someone for a server's position in a club. She said she couldn't work weekends or past 8 p.m. We're a nightclub that's open from 7 p.m. till 2 a.m. Interviewed someone for a call center job, and when we got to the salary part, he takes out his phone, calls his mother and puts her on speakerphone to help negotiate his salary like he was getting a job in the C-suite. Did not get hired. Was doing the whole long-term unemployed thing. Applied for a job that was being advertised by a recruiter. Surprisingly, got an interview. When I got there it quickly became clear to me that they were asking questions I didn't understand about things I'd never done. Now, when I decide to point this out to them, the interviewer naturally asks why I listed them on my CV if I never had experience with them. The answer, of course, is that I didn't. The interview has a copy of my CV on the table that shows these particular skills listed out on it. Now, I'm quite surprised at this, because the copy of my CV emailed to the recruiter doesn't have these particularly skills on it, and I naturally show that copy to them. I was the third person that day who obviously didn't know what they were talking about, and the first to actually admit it. This did not lead to a job, as I was missing the skills I'd actually need to do the job at all. It did lead to a free lunch and the bus fare home, which was nice. 1. I walked in as the HR lady farted too. It was a small office with no windows. 3. I asked her questions about their employee retention rate that she couldn't answer. 4. The fart stayed the duration of the interview. 5. I hope the fart got the job, because I didn't want it. Person came in for her interview and started dictating her own rules before the interview had even started. She didn't get the job. Got an interview for a job as a floor manager at a gigantic steel foundry. I have some background in metallurgy, so I thought it'd fit. It paid $90,000 and I was qualified resume-wise. I got there, turned out it was a group interview with 3 other applicants, to hear the pitch. If something messes up, the company loses $100,000, some shockingly high amount. I don't remember if it was exactly $100K per hour, and it's your sole responsibility to fix it. They said you'd have to be on call 24/7 to handle anything that comes up. I got to the solo part out of curiosity, and the interviewer they put me with said something to the effect of, "I know this job sounds bad, but actually it's even worse." I was desperate for a job because I didn't land one straight out of college, but I was glad not to hear back from them after the interview. Dude showed up 35 minutes late for his own interview. I wanted to just cancel it and tell him too bad, but my big boss told me to go ahead since we really needed the position filled. Interview starts, and he tells us he can only stay for 10 minutes since he's on call at his other job while here with us, and that technically he's supposed to be no more than 10 minutes away from his site, which is an hour away. I asked him what he'll do if he gets a call while he's at the interview. "Oh, I always just turn the phone off and pretend there's bad service." A couple hours into the interview/intro training, I was given paperwork to fill out for my new dog grooming job. Which would have been great, except that I had applied to be a cashier and had never owned a dog, much less groomed one. When I brought that up to the trainers, they didn't seem concerned at all. They said there were no cashier slots, that opening must have been left up by mistake, but dog grooming is fun and I'd like it. They seemed surprised when I left the paperwork on the table and congratulated them on wasting all of our time. Never shopped at that pet store again either. Wanted to work at H&M, got interviewed by the worst person ever. One question was, and I am legit not lying, "What is your favorite color and why?" I answered baby blue because it's calming and not too harsh to the eyes. My interviewer then said, "Ooh, sorry. Red is what we were looking for." And then proceeded to show me the exit. Sounds like an impossible question to get you out the door. I showed up in person for a phone interview. I have no idea how I got myself in that position. I looked up the address on my own and everything. I sat around waiting to be interviewed for half hour because the interviewer was in his office trying to call me. Of course, my phone was off. I wasn't offered another interview, and rightfully so. I graduated college in '09, so I had a terrible time finding a job. I applied all kinds of menial jobs and would never hear back. I once followed up on an application at Walmart. They said my app was probably at the back of the pile and they just worked top to bottom and hired someone else. I was not in a good place. I found a small local book publisher and got an interview. It was for like an assistant, nothing big. But seemed interesting. I kind of fell apart after struggling to answer your greatest weakness. I was just honest and said I'm not the most traditionally organized person. I don't let it affect my work, but it is what it is. This clearly was the wrong thing to say to one of the women interviewing me. Later in the interview they asked me if I had good attention to detail. I said I was solid, if not extraordinary at it. This other woman goes in on me because I said I was unorganized and that I couldn't have attention to detail if I wasn't organized. I knew they weren't going to hire me, so I defended myself vigorously. We were in a heated discussion just shy of a verbal fight. It was just an awful experience at an awful time in my life, laughing out loud. My first interview after graduating college with an econ/accounting degree. When the interviewer asked about my expected salary, he literally laughed and told me that I would not be able to get that starting salary anywhere and told me what I should be grateful for. I literally found a job that following week that paid what I was seeking. Know your worth, then add tax, get what you deserve. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to be the first to know about Red Rabbit Reader's new videos. If you like our videos, please like them on YouTube and share them with your friends. We welcome your comments below. Press to start another of our videos.